Good evening. Thank you all for joining us. This is the open session for the Franklin-McKinley School District Board of Education meeting. We are going to go ahead and start with item 3, general matters. Item 3.01, the land acknowledgement statement, which I will read now. We acknowledge that the Franklin-McKinley School District and our schools are located in the Muwekma Ohlone Nation, the sovereign nation and original people of the skies, land, and waters where we learn and work. The Muwekma Ohlone people are the stewards of these lands and of the teaching and learning that comes from and responds to the needs of the land and the people who share it. May our daily lives and work, learning, teaching, and community engagement support the evolving vision of the Muwekma Ohlone for their community and these lands. We will now go to item 3.02, the flag salute. I know we have our color guard here from Bridges Academy. Welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please stand and remove your hats for the presentation of the colors? Colored guard advance. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Prepare to post the colors. You may post the colors. Colored guard dismissed. Thank you. Please be seated.
Hello, my name is Max Omelia, and I'm an 8th grader in Bridges Academy, and I came over here with my parents.
Hello, my name is Dylan Nguyen, and I came over here with my dad.
Hello, my name is Venice Mendoza. I'm an 8th grader and I came here with my dad.
Give a round of applause for our Bridges color guard.
We want to thank the Bridges Academy Color Guard. You are our second color guard since we've returned back to in-person board meetings. So thank you for being here.
And thank you to the family members who also joined this evening. So we're going to continue with the agenda. You're welcome to stay for the duration of the meeting, or you're welcome to enjoy the rest of your evening as well. So thank you again. Right, we will now go to item 3.03, approve, disapprove additions to the agenda. Hearing none, we will go to item 3.04, approve, disapprove order of the agenda. Hearing none, we will go to item 3.05, report of action taken in closed session. Superintendent Cruz.
Thank you, Board President. The board unanimously approved the closed session minutes of August 24th, 2021. The board also took action in closed session to suspend a bus driver for 10 days without pay, and that was a unanimous vote. The board unanimously approved the appointment of our next Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Services, and I want to welcome Ms. Amy Black to the FMSD team. Ms. Amy Black comes to us from school district up north from Martinez, so we want to welcome her to the FMSD community. There are no other actions to report.
Thank you, Superintendent Cruz. We will now go to item 4, oral communications. Members of the public may address the board on any issue within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board or agenda items. Members of the public may also address the board on consent items before the board's consideration of the items. In accordance with Board Bylaw 9323, individual remarks will be limited to 3 minutes each unless otherwise stipulated. No action can be taken on any agenda items at this time. Questions may be referred to the administration or put on a future agenda. So we will go ahead and go to item 4.01, oral communication. I do believe we have some comments tonight.
Yes, we do have three members of the public that had asked to or submitted a request to speak, but I only do see one online to provide public comment, and that is Scott Shillemson from FMEA.
Good evening, trustees and all who are present. Well, it's been a challenging couple weeks since the board last met and I last spoke. I spoke then about all of the concerns regarding COVID and safety related to COVID, and it has been extremely challenging, as I assume everyone is aware. I applaud Superintendent Cruz and Assistant Superintendent Jason Van for fielding all of my questions at all times of day or night. I have been getting a lot of concerns from members and doing my best to get information. One of the things that's been challenging is that we don't always seem to have the exact same practices and protocols being followed at all of our schools. However, I do think at this point that may be taken care of. I think it was a little bit of a challenging few weeks to make sure that everyone was following the same protocols and that everyone understood those protocols, but I'm hopeful that that is now the case. I also am really happy that the district now has the COVID dashboard available on the website. Unfortunately, if you look at it, you can now see that September has eclipsed August with a total number of positive cases. We now have 26 in September for as far as we've gone into this month so far, and we had 25 in August, of course, which was also an abbreviated month. So I am hopeful that at some point we are able to turn a corner with all of these positive cases. Obviously, everyone from the board to administration to teachers, parents, and students are doing what we can to keep everyone safe. But I can't stress enough how concerning it is for folks to be working in this environment and how important it is that all the safety measures be enforced and that the district continue to meet the letter of the law, if not go above and beyond what is required by the county, state, and federal regulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. Any other comments?
I just want to put it in the record that we did have Gladys Paulino, Lin Chi Wen, and Aide Villa submitted requests. Oh, there's Aide, so we can let her make her public comments. Aide Villa. If you can unmute yourself, you can make a public comment. Aide, if you can unmute yourself, you can make your public comment.
Star 6.
If you're on the phone, you can star 6, but I don't think you're on the phone.
Okay. We will now go on to public hearing. Item 5, beginning with item 5.01, the public hearing on sufficiency and insufficiency of materials. So we'll go ahead and open the public hearing for that at this time. Do you have any comments on this item? Okay, so hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. We'll go ahead and go on to item 6, information discussion and/or action items. And we have item 6.01, an update on the 2021 summer school programs. I believe we have Dr. Sarah Feldman here.
Good evening. Do I need to do anything regarding the presentation? Like magic. It just happens up there. So I'll just start chatting and then hopefully the slideshow will catch up. So we really have something to celebrate. And I know this is a group that does a lot of heavy, hard work. But in sharing this report with you, we really have something to celebrate. So summer school this past summer was very different than years prior. And one of the biggest recognition pieces is that we went from being a district that was in 100% distance learning all year last year. And the only students who are actually on campuses at all were those participating in the choral program. And, you know, we were grateful that they had the opportunity to actually be on campuses. And so summer school is a really big deal because we offered both in-person classes that went off without a hitch, in the fact that we were using company nurse, and the first day families were lined up around the block and trying to figure out how to do it on their phones. And, you know, we're translating into different languages and just getting everybody up on, you know, how to use the system. And by the third day in, that line went in within 5 to 10 minutes. And so people really got used to the system of the COVID protocols. We didn't have a single outbreak the entire summer. When those families then came back to school in August, they were much more prepared in terms of how to go through the line for the COVID protocols, as well as being ready as students in terms of how do you follow directions and how do you sit in the classroom and how do you engage in being ready to learn again. So I really feel like this summer's summer school was really significant in a number of ways that we can't necessarily quantify through a deck or through data, but just in terms of like the tangible experience for the students and for their families and what it meant to try to rebuild community. So I just want to say a big kudos to everyone who was involved in creating such a successful summer school program. So I'm going to give you some quick details about what happened. So there were a lot of different programs. So there was a general education program that ran for 19 days. There was a special education program that was for students who had extended school year that was 5 more days than that. They had 24. We were at both elementary and middle school sites, and we served a total of 1,466 students, pre-K through 8th grade. That's huge. And we had a lot of partnerships supporting this, including grant funding from the Shortino Foundation, San Jose Learns, Title I, Title III. Do you want to progress or do I do it? Okay. If I can. There we go. Okay. So this chart, which is probably going to be a little bit hard to read from where you are, basically has the breakdown by grade level. So you can just see who was served in terms of actual students. And what you'll notice is that there was a swell in terms of the number of students served in K1, 2, and then again 6, 7. Those were sort of the areas where we had the most students participating. And then we had a lot of different programs, and some of these were virtual and some of them were in person. There was a nice range. And so this gives you the breakdown in terms of who were the leaders of these different programs. And there were a lot of changes from the previous year. So for example, we expanded the number of students. We served 1,000 students in 2019, only 300 in 2020, and then 1,466 this past summer of 2021. There was no busing provided this summer except for students in the special education program. And even so, kids got themselves to the campuses. I mean, there were a few cases in which the campuses were full. And so we could only offer the enrichment program at Dahl because we didn't have enough teachers to be able to staff an academic program at every single site. And so we really relied on the partnerships such as Elevate with Silicon Valley Ed Fund to help us recruit more teachers to provide math instruction and computer science, because that was probably the biggest limiter in terms of what we could offer and the number of students we could serve was just getting the teaching staff. So the partnerships really helped us in that way, especially with Catholic Charities and the choral program, staffing the enrichment after school programs. The young people who participated in the programs were phenomenal. And it just really made a big difference in terms of being able to serve more students. We vastly expanded the Elevate Math program. In prior years, we only had 6 sections. This past summer, we had 16 sections. That's huge, just in terms of the amount of math programs that were given to students. Now, granted, we had a smaller class size because of COVID, unless it was an online virtual class, because we were really trying to be careful about the protocols. So just know that. We really shifted from a morning only program to a full day program. And the other thing is that in the past, my understanding is that the summer school was really only for students who had been identified as struggling students. And this year it was first come, first serve. And so anybody who signed up by the deadline for registration got in to either the virtual or the in-person learning. And so we really did our best to try to accommodate as many students as we could off of the wait list. Everyone who got their application in time was given a spot. So we're really proud of that. As I mentioned before, due to the limited number of teachers that we were able to hire, we did have one campus at Dahl, which was an enrichment only camp. And that was done in partnership with Audacity Arts and the music program with San Jose Jazz. So here are the sites. I want to talk a little bit about the budget just to report back on that. So budget allocations were for teacher, administrator, coordinator stipends, materials and supplies, professional development training for staff, and COVID protocol safety. And so the costs are listed on the slide. And then we had 2 major grants. One was Shortino for $135,000. That was a rollover from the year prior because not all of the funds had been used in the previous summer when the program was so small with only a couple hundred students. And then San Jose Learn, which came in at about $100,000, also had a rollover situation. So hopefully that will address one of the questions that came in earlier. In the morning, there was instruction that was academic, and we provided training around how to do interactive read alouds using journeys, number talks for mathematics, using Eureka Math, the use of the Lexia program for phonemic awareness and word work, and Second Step for social emotional learning. And so if you actually have access to this PowerPoint, you can click on that live link for summer literacy program, and that will take you to what our literacy daily schedule looked like as well. It was really important that we had a social emotional learning component because this was the first time that many students had come back together to be in person in classrooms. And so we spent a lot of time building community. And then we moved on to integrating the SEL learning with the academic focus so that there was a TK focus on using the decoding power kits to really try to help kids catch up who had missed a lot in terms of just when they were in a year of virtual learning, and doing the mini lessons with Lexia for K-5 students particularly. And then for 4 through 6, really focusing on writing with the students. And then the afternoons were super fun. The choral had a summer camp feel to it. There was a soccer theme. There were community partnerships with Audacity Arts and Park San Jose and San Jose Jazz. So we did do pre and post testing because we are trying to just see what happened. And so the assessments that we gave were the ESGI for TK first grade and the Ren Star had been taken in the spring and June. So kids didn't retake that as the pre-test because they had just taken it in June. So then we simply did a post-test at the end of the summer just to see where we landed. And then for math, we used the FRECL, which is a fluency focused assessment, which was given for students grades TK through 8. Now, the thing to realize is that during the summer program, we really only focused on a couple of the standards and a couple of the skills. And the Ren Star covers all of the standards. So we knew that it wasn't going to be a perfect match in terms of an assessment because that is so much more comprehensive. But this is what happened. So you can see here the percentage of students who achieved some growth in ELA, which was blue, and math, which is the orange, during summer school, and it's by grade span. So what we're seeing here, for instance, is that everybody made some improvement. The rates, they vary, but everybody did experience some growth. Real highlights are that math for first grade, 72% of the kids who attended summer school really boosted their math. So, that's fantastic. I'm sorry, English language arts, I'm reading that wrong. Really boosted their reading skills in first grade. And that's really important because first grade is the time when you're really learning how to read. And so that's really significant. And then 64% for the little ones, TK and K, in math. That's huge. Learning your numbers and getting ready for numeracy, really preparing for coming back to school. So I think really what we see here is that the phonemic awareness work really mattered. The math fluency work really mattered. And so this data, just so you know, was from Santee, Windmill, and Bridges specifically. And so it was really a summer of community building, of learning how to be a student again, learning how to follow directions and have positive interactions in a classroom, learning the COVID protocols, and social and emotional integrated learning with academics. For the ESY Extended School Year program, the special education program, it was held at Franklin. And what was so exciting was that the teachers from this program participated in the training along with the general education teachers. And they were so excited about the materials that they asked for more copies that they could use in their program. And that just warmed my heart to hear that request because we were starting to see folks really starting to collaborate in terms of the training and implementation with the learning. Their day went from 8:30 to 1:30, and their focus of their program was academics, art, music therapy, and they served 89 students by 9 teachers and 18 classified staff and a secretary. And this was really guided to serve the more moderate to severe students with IEPs. Once again, a bunch of our partnerships. We are so appreciative and thankful for the partnerships that we have. It made for a really, really robust summer program for our students from TK all the way through 8th grade. So one of the partnerships through the Silicon Valley Ed Fund is the Elevate Math and Computer Science program. And as I mentioned before, we expanded the number of sections from 8 to 16, and the average attendance was 84%, and 62% of the students showed improvement on the next grade level standards. And we were really able to serve a lot of students. We had 255 students in this particular program. For computer science, this was for 7th and 8th graders, and they focused on the computer science standards, and they covered 22 of them. This chart shows the gains from the Elevate program, and what you'll see is in green are the increases. And so 3rd graders, 77% of students, the majority of students increased their math knowledge from the pre to the post assessment. Same with 5th grade, 68%, 6th grade, 68%, 7th and 8th grade, 57% and 59%, with a grand total average of 62%. So some real significant learning was happening. Another benefit also from this program is that many of our math teachers participated in the training from Elevate. So they got some additional math training over the summer. We also had a Vietnamese summer enrichment program over at Windmill Springs. And the priority for this was students who don't have very much support at home for Vietnamese, or students who've been struggling and had low Vietnamese language skills. So we had 27 first graders and 16 kindergartners, and it was really around using oral language to increase their vocabulary and their fluency and understanding in Vietnamese. And they used a project-based learning approach to really promote language skills and vocabulary development. McKinley had a very small virtual summer program, and this was in partnership, a reading intervention program with Aspire Education and their Community Reading Buddies program for 8 weeks, twice a week. And that was funded by Shop with a Cop of Silicon Valley. Thank you. And this program served 40 students. And these students showed an average growth of 40% of a grade level, which is huge. They also had a 4-week program once a week on coding and STEAM enrichment program through the Calculus Roundtable. And that was funded by the Hispanic Foundation of Silicon Valley. Thank you. And this program served 20 students. We sent out an electronic survey to the families and staff to get feedback about the program. And so here's some of the feedback. Folks primarily said they enjoyed the program and they were happy with how it helped students with their academic learning and with the instruction and the activities provided. And they would recommend the program to other families and students. But of course, we always have continuous improvement. And so, I would love to see us have more teachers so we can serve even more students. We didn't have transportation this summer, so there were just a handful of cases in which that presented a little bit of a challenge. But for the most part, we were able to enroll students in the school that was closest to them. And then we had a little monkey wrench, which is that Juneteenth, which you're excited about as a new holiday. The timing of it was a little challenging for us because it was during our week of staff development, right before it was going to open. And so poor Sammer and his team were like really working hard and had to work on the holiday just to get everything set up and running for the virtual program. So we kind of lost a day for setup and training, and there was some confusion around payroll as a result of it. So, next time, now that we know that that's going to be a holiday, we will plan accordingly around it. So that was just part of our learning. And there's some other pieces as well for our own learning for next time of things that we know that we want to do better to improve. So thank you for your attention, and just a huge thank you to business services for making sure everybody got paid, and food services to make sure everyone had healthy snacks and food, and to HR for helping us hire so many teachers and staff, and the IT department for making sure we could run a virtual program, and maintenance and operation for making sure that all of our classrooms were set up with all of these plastic screens in time for summer school, because we literally only had a couple days between the end of school and the opening of summer school. And of course, the summer staff and admin team were phenomenal. And so we just can't thank you all enough. So any questions?
Oh, I'm quite speechless after hearing that presentation. But board members, do we have any questions for Dr. Feldman?
Sir, I just want to thank you for a very thorough, presentation. And it seems like it was a very successful program. Were you able to take any college university trips? Probably not, huh? This summer on college university trips, were you able to take any field trips? Not to those places. Next summer.
I think it wasn't quite safe enough.
Yeah.
We really were cautious.
Correct.
This was our first time opening up. And so
Right.
we just erred on the side of
That's good.
caution.
Yeah.
And honestly, we didn't have a single COVID case.
Wow.
Like it was amazing.
Incredible.
Exactly. And so
Incredible.
I know we weren't able to have sort of as
Yeah.
out in the community as we would have liked. But,
Right.
this is where we are.
Worked out well. Thank you.
Or
Dr. Rodriguez?
Yeah, and I just want to echo, thank you so much for coordinating this. I think I'm just shocked that we had 1,466 students. I mean, that's great. That's fantastic. Because this is something that I think our parents were in need of, because they wanted their children to catch up after the distance learning they had the previous year. So, and I like what you said about they were prepared to start the new academic year because they knew the protocol with COVID already, because you would help, you all had helped them learn that during summer school. That it probably made it that much easier to open the new school year with them already being used to it and being able to share their knowledge with the other students that didn't quite make it to summer school. And I know that you wanted to provide more students to attend summer school, but we didn't have enough teachers, which is good and bad in a way. It's good that we were filled up to the maximum, but it's bad that we couldn't offer every student. And I'd like to see us continue to grow with that. So thank you so much.
Well, I think that's the magic of the partnerships, is that allows us to serve more students by having the partnerships as well. Yeah.
Vice President Tran.
Oh, so thank you, Dr. Feldman, for this very informative update. It's great to know that our summer school went as smooth as possible with the conditions that we're currently in. And I mean, just based on all the partnerships, it truly showed the great collaboration amongst all the business partners and your staff and our staff. And I mean, our staff overall did to pull this off. So a question for you is, regarding the survey feedback that we had, is there a way we can get the participation rate of the family feedback there, just so we can understand, like, of all the, just the percentage of people who actually respond to that survey?
Absolutely. And I'm happy to share with you, it was done like monkey survey style, in terms of like a form. And so I'm happy to share that. Maybe Mr. Cruz, you can help me to share that with the board so you can look at that at your leisure.
Because that's always a metric that I would like to see increase, and parents actually giving us our honest opinion about their experience with the summer school program. Just so something that I feel more comfortable pushing more head on, something that we could focus more on summer school program initiatives. Because the other question I was going to ask is regarding the Elevate Math, where we had 255 students after expansion attend that program. But based on your bullet point of 32% of the kids who actually got in the first week after being on the wait list, what happened to the other 68%?
So we called families. We called and tried to track everybody down to say, hey, come on, come join us. And I think a lot of folks, said, we changed our mind. We're doing something else, and that happens.
It happens, and I totally get that.
And if I could just add, I think that was at the time also the Delta variant was starting to pick up. And so I know that some families then decided not to send their children at that time, waiting for the start of school.
Understood. And the reason why I wanted to kind of highlight that or bring that up was, with 255 kids that attended that program, and 62% showed improvement as they came back or from that program. That's something that I wouldn't want any kid to be on the wait list to miss out on. So again, just thank you so much for the presentation. There's a lot of parts of improvements that we can do and to better serve our kids for their future, especially when it comes to summer school initiatives.
Thank you.
Board Member Martinez.
Thank you. I can't speak for all the families, but I can give you instant feedback as to one. My family did participate in the summer school. My son attended summer school at CCA, and I want to say thank you very, very much on behalf of my family, because that was, I think, instrumental in getting my son to acclimate to his new environment at CCA. I was there nearly every day, dropping him off and going through the company nurse and, just kind of being with all the other parents and kind of navigating that process. And it was something that we absolutely were happy with. And I just wanted to say thank you, and thank you to all the staff. I mean, I think that the part of your presentation that kind of rattled off all the folks kind of behind the scenes who made that happen has to be, said out loud because, we have folks on the front line and folks behind the line who really made that happen and continue to make our current school year happen. And we can never say thank you enough. So I just wanted to say that was a good experience. Thank you.
I'm so glad. And I just want to do a special shout out also to Christina Ravo, who's the principal of Franklin, because she was our summer school coordinator this summer and did a phenomenal job behind the scenes. I mean, we were talking all the time and planning all the time. And she just did an amazing job of making sure that all the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed and everybody had what they needed.
Thank you. And I just, again, I was speechless watching the presentation and reviewed the data and everything beforehand, but I think just hearing, the magnitude of what this means for our students and families and for all these pieces and all this collaboration to happen, to really come together to make this happen after the year that we had with COVID, I think it's really just incredibly impressive and really just goes to show that we have incredible staff and partnerships and everyone working together to make it happen. So thank you once again for everything that went into this.
Yeah, and if I may add, I think one of the lessons that we learned was we've always been limited in the number of students we can serve based on the number of staff members we can hire. And certainly that was true this year, but one of the lessons that I think we can take away from here, from this year is that doesn't mean that students can't be engaged in the summer. So the fact that we were able to operate at Dahl for a camp style still learning process for students that, we certainly would like to be able to have the teaching staff to expand their learning and their experiences, but that's not necessarily a limiting factor for families to have access to a summer program. And I think that that's one of the things that we'll take from this summer and say, okay, how do we actually expand opportunities for students, even if we don't have the teaching staff, moving forward. So I'm really happy that we were able to do that for that number of students at Dahl. We're looking forward to, how we can create those opportunities for our students in the future.
Well, and that speaks to, the equity of it also is making sure that every child who wanted and was able to get their application turned in had a spot. I think that's absolutely huge. So excited to see what the future holds on this topic as well. Thank you again, Dr. Feldman. Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry. One other thing I wanted to make sure doesn't get lost in the shuffle is thanking the parents for taking the bold step in trusting the district and sending their children during this time to the summer school program, because they had the trust in the staff and the trust in our community that we would do things the best that we can and continue to offer us that trust. And hopefully as we move forward, we show that trust is rewarded and earned.
Thank you. I 100% agree. Thank you, families.
Thank you once again, and we appreciate the update. We will now go to item 7, consent items under 25,000. Members of the public may address the board on consent items before the board's consideration of the items in accordance with board bylaws 9323. Individual remarks will be limited to 3 minutes each unless otherwise stipulated. I will go ahead and do this for items 7, 8, and 9. If there's any public comments on any of those items. Board members, let me know if there's any items that you'd like to pull from any of those consent items. Hearing none, I will accept a motion for consent items under 25,000.
Move to approve consent item 7.01 is, wait a minute, did you say is 7.01 to 7.08?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
All right, the motion has been made to approve items 7.01 through 7.08. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. That motion passes unanimously. We will now go to item 8, which is consent items over 25,000.
Madam President, I move to approve consent items 8.01 through 8.12.
Second.
The motion has been made to approve items 8.01 through 8.12 and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously. We'll now go to item 9, construction items.
Madam President, I would like to move for approval of construction items 9.01 through 9.05.
Second.
Items 9.01 through 9.05 have been moved and seconded for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously. We will now go to item 10, action items. Item 10.01, the personnel report. We do have an addendum.
Madam President, I move that the personnel report be submitted with the addendum being the promotion for the following employees be approved. Hannah Bond, library media aide at Windmill, effective 9/9/21. B, the employment for the following employees be approved. Manuel Ledesma, custodian at Bridges and Meadows, effective 9/13/21. Lucila Castor, custodian at Franklin, effective 9/1/21. Brenda Hernandez, paraeducator at Kennedy, effective 9/7/21. Sarah Castro, paraeducator at Kennedy, effective 9/13/21. Guadalupe Moncada, noon duty supervisor at Ramblewood, effective 9/1/21. Patricia Ramirez Espinoza, custodian at Shirakawa, effective 9/1/21. Kane Bustamante, paraeducator at Stonegate, effective 9/1/21. Mercedes Armendariz, custodian at Stonegate, effective 9/14/21. Estela Gomez Javier, custodian at Sivendell, effective 9/1/21. And C, the resignation for the following employees be approved. Jocelyn Azel Soria, paraeducator at Leron, effective 9/16/21. And Hannah Bond, noon duty supervisor at Windmill, effective 9/8.
Thank you, Vice President Tran.
Second.
Right, the personnel addendum has been moved and seconded for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously. We will now go to item 10.02, the August 24th, 2021 board meeting minutes. Members, hopefully you've had a chance to review it, and I will accept a motion when you're ready.
Move to approve the August 24th board meeting minutes.
Second.
The August 24th board meeting minutes have been moved and seconded for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously. We will now go to item 10.03, reporting on delegating authority to take the necessary action to protect students and staff from the spread of coronavirus. Superintendent Cruz.
Yes, thank you. Just one of the updates that we have is that we've established a dashboard, as I mentioned at our meeting this afternoon with families. And that's going to be widely communicated across our district so that families can check the dashboard in regards to the number of cases, positive cases that we are experiencing at each of the campuses. For privacy purposes, we're only reporting the number and not necessarily if it's a student or a staff member. But it's inclusive of both students and staff. That we have a confirmed positive case, and then that gets reported on that dashboard. Also, one of the changes we've made is that we are now communicating to the entire school community when there's a positive case, even if they were not a close contact, as we had done in the past. And this, again, as a result of hearing from parents that they wanted to know if, what were the conditions that their community, within their school community, as their children obviously interact with children in the neighborhood and in the community, and wanted to have that information so that they could make the appropriate decisions while at home. And so those are changes that we've made to our protocols and communicating with the community in regards to the positive cases that we're experiencing in our schools. In addition to that, we've been communicating with staff, and we'll continue to communicate with families in regards to the public health decision-making graphic tree that is out there, so that families and staff understand that, we're not obviously making these decisions unilaterally, that they're actually following the public health guidelines, and that when it falls within that guidelines, that the student or the staff member stay on campus under a modified quarantine, that is based on that decision-making tree, and obviously quarantining those that are appropriate to be quarantined, and then going through the process of identifying if they have a negative test in the first day and then the fifth day to shorten their quarantine window. So, we're trying to make sure that we're communicating that, very clearly, even though it's a complex, decision-making process and time consuming in terms of identifying those that are close contact. We know that, what we're doing is ensuring that we can stay in person and that we're keeping children and staff as safe as we can. So I welcome any questions that may come, your way in terms of clarifying those with our community, because I know that this is worrisome, but also very complex. This is not a simple decision or we can apply the same scenario every single time to every single case. So every case is very different and unique. And so we have to kind of walk that through with each individual case. We do have over 230 students in independent study now. And we will continue to try to hire staff to lower the caseloads for our staff. As we've had more positive cases, we've seen a trend of some families wanting to go into independent study, and so I understand that. We will continue to provide the resources to students. Ingenuity is up and running for them. We have still devices here for those families that are choosing to come into independent study, so that we make sure they have a device and a hotspot. And then if you look out to the room here, we still have supplies that students and families are having to come and pick up as we go through this process. I'll just say that I'm extremely proud of the response from our community, our staff. This is not an easy start of the year, but it is one that we feel we've prioritized the safety of staff and students, while also making sure that students are supported while they're here in person. And I've been at a number of our sites, and I can tell you that the staff and the students are doing well from given the conditions, and we will continue to try and find ways to improve our supports to our staff and our students. Any questions for the board?
Go ahead, Board Member, Clerk Rodriguez.
Sorry, I had to clear my throat. So, are we consistent with the COVID protocol safety procedures at all of our schools? Is it the same in all the schools? And do all the teachers have the same resources available for that?
Thank you for that question. So we've been working with our administrators, Jason and Annette in particular, interface with them regularly to make sure that they understand the protocols. One of the things that I've done through our staff bulletin is share those protocols with all our staff so that they can see what they are, and making sure that if for whatever reason somebody has a different interpretation or they've decided to do something differently, that they can go ahead and communicate that. It's been a learning curve for everybody, right, in terms of this, but and the protocols have changed over the last couple of weeks. And just in fact, one of them just changed yesterday with a new date of the 13th. So it's a moving target, but one of the things that I ask our administrators to do is making sure that they give us a call, that they give Jason a call. I've joked with Jason that he's going to have a doctor degree by the time we're done with this. And so the best thing is always to call, because again, no one scenario is the same. And a lot of times is talking it through that makes we make sure that we're following the protocol the right way, and that everybody's clear in terms of what steps to take. So can I say that everybody's applied it consistently across since we started school, probably not, but that's a work in progress. And we've met with the principals a number of times to make sure that it's clear. We've simplified some of the documents. We've had template letters, again, so that we make it easy and consistent in the messaging that our principals and our schools are sending.
So, okay, but do the teachers have all the resources equally available?
Yes.
For them?
Yes.
So whether it could be a lack of training or something that might prevent them from being consistent across the school district, right? Right.
In terms of supplies and supports, I would say that yes, it is consistently provided equally across all our schools. Yes, from that standpoint.
Other questions, board members? Thank you, Superintendent Cruz. We will now go to item 10.04, the district certification of unaudited financial report for 2020-2021.
Good evening. Before you tonight are the state required reports that summarize the revenue and expenditures of Franklin-McKinley School District for the June 30th, 2021 school year, as well as summarize their balance, assets, and liabilities. In the report, you'll notice that the ownership of the general fund ending balance is 19.3 million approximately for June 30th, 2021. And it is recommended that the board certify the SAC's financial report as presented, that it may be submitted to the Santa Clara County Office of Education for review and posted for general public.
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Ben. Board members, are there any questions or comments on this item? None. I will accept a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to accept item 10.03. The report 04, I'm sorry. 10.04, the district certification of unaudited financial report for 2020-21.
Second.
Item 10.04 has been moved and seconded for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously. We'll now go to item 10.05, resolution 2021-30.
In accordance with Ed Code, by September 30th of each year, the governing board shall adopt a resolution. Your estimated appropriations limits current year and the actual document used in the identification has been posted for public review and attached for their review. We did that the Board of Education adopt resolution 2021 define again.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on this item?
Move to approve action item 10.05, resolution number 2021-30, the GAN.
Second.
Item 10.05 has been moved and seconded for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And that motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Jason. We will now go to item 10.06, resolution 2021-31 in support of National Hispanic Heritage Month. Superintendent Cruz.
Yes, annually, we bring this resolution forward to the board for your approval, declaring September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month. I believe in the What's Cooking, there was already some events that were highlighted there that some of the schools are implementing in regards to this recognition. And so we will continue to let you know of anything that our schools and in the classrooms are doing as a way to recognize the achievements of our Hispanic community and let you know if there's any opportunities for you to also participate.
Thank you, Superintendent Cruz. Board members, are there any questions or comments?
Whoops, I have a question and a comment at the same time. The 1, 2, 3, the fourth whereas, It says, whereas with the term Hispanic or Latino referring to Puerto Rican, South or Central American or other Spanish culture or origin, regardless of race. I'm wondering if we could add the largest demographic that, the origin that we have in the state, in our area here, which is Mexican. So maybe referring to Mexico, Puerto Rico, or Mexican, Puerto Rican, South or Central American or other Spanish culture, because Mexico is not part of South or Central America. Mexico is its own. So if we could add, so if we're going to adopt this resolution, if we could add Mexico just before Puerto Rican. If the rest of the board doesn't object to it.
Board members?
No objection.
No objection.
Motion to that?
So I won't, well, then let me put it in a motion then. I'd like to move that we approve resolution number 2021-31 in support of National Hispanic Heritage Month with the addition of the fourth whereas, including the country or the demographic of Mexican before Puerto Rican.
Second.
Right, the motion has been made to approve the resolution 2021-31 in support of National Hispanic Heritage Month with the addition and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. That motion passes unanimously. We will now go to item 10.07, resolution 2021-32, recognizing the second Monday of October as Indigenous Peoples Day. So just speaking on this, we know that the second Monday in October is recognized or is known as Indigenous Peoples Day, and it's a time to celebrate the history and contributions of Indigenous people, and in alignment with a lot of other recognitions that we do, bringing this forward as another annual resolution to also remind our staff and our students to honor the day and learnings from it as well.
And I'll just say that one of the practices that we're implementing as well is in our staff bulletin, if you notice at the very bottom, in terms of references and things, we'll be adding links and things for staff in regards to the various resolutions, so that it's not just a resolution that gets passed, but providing some resources and some things for our staff to get and be able to use in their classrooms.
Thank you, Superintendent Cruz. Board members, any questions or comments?
I do have another question and a comment again. Okay, so I am part Native American, which is considered Indigenous. And I wonder if we could add another whereas. And I don't even know how to word this year, but maybe we could do it next time, or somehow add it this year. We could get the wording down later. But when I went to school in the 60s and 70s, the curriculum taught me that the Native American population at the time, called Indian, were considered savages, uneducated, poor, and basically not a part of today's society, which fits many of the whereases that are already listed. But what I'd like to do is, maybe since we're an educational system here, our district, is maybe add something in there to make sure that the curriculum reflects the true history of the Indigenous people, so that we're able to accurately educate our children as to what the history of the Indigenous population is, not only in California, but throughout North America and beyond, so that people don't experience what I did. I didn't know about my culture until after I went to college. I had no clue, and I learned about it later. And it was extremely upsetting, because I respected my teachers and I got good grades, but I got good grades based on the curriculum that the Indians were the way they said it, and it was not accurate at all. So I don't know what to do if we want to add it in there. I'll support approving this resolution as it's written, but I would like us to maybe note this for next time, to add that in there to reflect a proper. We already talked about, Juan already mentioned the curriculum and making sure that our instruction is correct. But I would like to see that in the resolution. Any thoughts?
I mean, I've made a note, and I'm happy to bring back next year, or if the board would like to approve this as is, and then since this is in October, I can bring an additional language at the meeting on the 28th as well. However, the board would like to proceed.
For this symbolic
but-
gesture, I will go ahead and support if we want to go ahead and approve a resolution. And maybe at a future, maybe the next board meeting, we can amend it. How's that?
And thank you, Clerk Rodriguez, for sharing your experiences and offering that perspective as well, so we can make sure we give students the opportunity to learn about the true histories. I think that's part of the work that the district is also committed to doing as part of our Ethnic Studies Adoption Committee, which I know is, that's part of this critical work as well. So I thank you for bringing attention to that.
Well, I'm almost positive that our schools have changed. The curriculum has changed since I went, because I went in the dinosaur ages. So, but I can tell you this, it's very personal and hit me very emotionally when I went to college and found out exactly what my culture was, not only being Indigenous, but also being Mexican.
Thank you, Clerk Rodriguez. Any other questions or comments, board members?
I would just like to add that to the extent that we can keep that on our front of mind, when I believe that the laws that are currently pending in front of the governor, that there may be something regarding ethnic study curriculums in schools, that it's also this exact issue, as well as issues of other cultures and other peoples, it's brought forth when we address that issue as well. It's not just a month, but kind of moving forward, how that looks with the new laws.
Thank you, Board Member Martinez. Hearing no other questions or comments. I can go ahead and move that we approve the resolution 2021-32, recognizing the second Monday of October as Indigenous Peoples Day.
I'll second that.
Thank you. So the motion has been made to approve resolution 2021-32 and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. And that motion passes unanimously. We will now go to item 10.08, resolution 2021-33, School Administrator Week. Superintendent Cruz.
Yes, thank you. This one always eludes me. By the time it brought to my attention, it's already passed. So Sandy made sure that I remember this time around, and so we're bringing forward the recognition of the second week of October being the week of the school administrator. It happens to fall also on our October break. So in a way, they won't have an opportunity to be recognized at the schools. The kids and the staff will be gone, and hopefully they can do that before and after and throughout the year, really. But wanted to make sure that we brought this forward, especially under these conditions. Our school administrators are well deserved in the recognition, because they're working very hard to make sure that our students are being safe, and there's an additional responsibility and workload on their shoulders right now. And so I want to make sure that we're recognizing for that, but also, not just this week, but every day as well.
Thank you, Superintendent Cruz. Board members, any questions or comments? Board Member Martinez.
No, I just wanted to, I think I see a typo at the bottom of the signature block. Board President. I could be wrong.
We will get that updated. Yeah. Thank you.
I don't think I've been promoted yet.
Thank you for catching that.
I just want to say I'm glad that we bring this resolution forward, because we know how much work administrators do, way beyond an 8-hour day. Spend many hours on their making sure their school is the best school possible. Very appropriate to bring this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Sanchez. Any other questions, comments? Otherwise, I'll accept a motion on this item.
I'd like to move on item 10.08, resolution number 2021-33, the School Administrator Week.
Second.
Item 10.08 has been moved and seconded for approval. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. That motion passes unanimously. We will now go to item 10.09, the approval of literacy action plan and budget for McKinley Elementary Schools participating in the early literacy support block grant.
Yeah, so this is brought forward. Once again, you approved this last meeting. CDE recognized that it needs to be approved with the full 3-year budget, and it was a PDF, and you couldn't open the tab that showed the 3-year budget. So they said you need to go back and attach, so it's clear that it's not only approving the plan, but also approving the budget that associated with the plan. So this is why we're bringing it forward once again.
Thank you for the clarification. Board members, any questions or comments on this item?
Move to approve action item 10.09.
Second.
Item 10.09 has been moved and seconded for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that motion passes unanimously. We will now go to item 10.10, the letter supporting FMSD Resolution 2019-23, ending the sale of flavored tobacco products.
Yeah, so and I'll defer the rest to Board President. Back in 2019, we brought this resolution, and certainly it's something that is concerning throughout the county in regards to the exposure of our students, our youth, in terms of tobacco and all the different things that are out there now. And so we'd like to be able to support an initiative at the city level, and so therefore that's why we're bringing this forward.
So I can speak a little bit more on this. So as part of the Franklin-McKinley Children's Initiative, one of the partnerships we were looking at was with public health, and specifically looking at this issue. And so part of that was looking at the data and seeing the density maps and how, a lot of our families in our areas are really targeted by these tobacco products and not access. And we know how that impacts our students and their development and youth and their families. And so being able to support, I know that this board took action on that, and for transparency, being able to bring this back and submitting this letter to City Council, encouraging them and urging them really to take action. It is scheduled to be heard at their September 28th, I believe, City Council meeting. And so this would be our contribution to really try to urge them to take action, like many of the neighboring cities have already done, to ban flavored tobacco products. Clerk Rodriguez.
Has the City Planning Commission taken a position on this as well already? Do you know?
I don't know offhand, no.
And yeah, okay. Now, is this also a part of? Are we? Okay, let me back up and reword this. Are we including all smoke shops as well?
I believe it's including everyone.
Not just flavored tobacco, but if smoke shops stop selling flavored tobacco, then they would be okay. Is that what we're saying? Or are we including smoke shops as a whole?
So it's really to prevent the access to youth of any tobacco, but specifically targeting the flavored tobacco, which is the one that is targeting our youth.
But if a smoke shop does not sell any of that, then they're okay. Is that what we're saying? Is that our position? Or does it say that in the resolution or the letter?
I'm understanding this as the overall sale of any flavored tobacco in San Jose. So that would include if a smoke shop was selling flavored tobacco, that it would be restricted if this was passed.
So if the smoke shop sold no flavored tobacco, then they would be fine.
Yes.
It would be okay.
Yes.
Okay. And my last question on this is, how do I put this? Okay, so if a cannabis shop stops, some of them sell flavored tobacco. If they don't sell it, then they're fine as well, as long as they're the proper distance from a school.
Yeah, this particular resolution and letter that is going to the city is specifically around the menthol and flavored tobacco products.
Only.
Yes.
Okay. I wonder if we want to make mention that, you know, if these other smoke shops or cannabis stores have flavored tobacco, that they are included in there as well as if they're selling those products.
So the letter really explicitly says without exemption. So that meaning any shop or any store, any sale of flavored tobacco and menthol should be restricted.
Okay, that's okay, good. I missed that in the letter when I read it. I wasn't quite sure. I just wanted to make sure my confusion was not there. I would like us to, in the future, maybe address some of these other issues involving smoke shops and cannabis stores that are near our schools.
It's in the last sentence.
Pardon?
It restates the part about exemptions in the last sentence as well.
For flavored tobacco.
Yes,
But,
without exemptions.
okay, so then on a separate topic, and maybe I'll request it to be an agenda item request so that we can look at all of our schools and get an update on the location of smoke shops and cannabis stores, regardless of selling flavored tobacco, that are near our schools. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you. Any other questions or comments, board members? None. I'll accept a motion on this item.
Move to approve the letter supporting FMSD Resolution 2019-23.
Second.
Item 10.10 has been moved and seconded for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously. We will now go to item 11, communications from the superintendent. Superintendent Cruz.
Yes, thank you. I'll keep it brief since I did go into a lot of detail in the item 10.03. Just want to thank the board for a very productive, what I thought a very productive board retreat on Saturday. And thank you for your thoughtfulness in developing the annual goals. I will be bringing the annual goals as an agenda item on the 28th. One of the things that we've done over the last, I think this is would be our third year where I publicly showcase the annual goals publicly that are part of my evaluation. So I plan to bring that forward on the 28th. Just again, thank you to everybody that has been part of our reopening and bringing everybody back. We'll continue to be mindful of what our community is saying and what they're expressing as needs, and we'll continue to shift and move in the direction of making sure that we are keeping people safe, both physically and socially and emotionally, because part of this, the information of sharing of information is about making people feel, positive about what we're doing and that they have the confidence. And I want to thank, Member Martinez for, the parent perspective in terms of, it is a decision that parents have in regards to sending their children to us in person, and they need to feel, comfortable with that decision. And so we need to honor that and make sure that we're not jeopardizing their trust by not doing enough from their standpoint in regards to keeping them safe. So thank you to everybody, because this has been, it's been 4 weeks, but it seems like it's been longer. And looking forward to continuing our work.
Thank you, Superintendent Cruz. We will now go to item 12, communications from the Board of Education. Item 12.01, board member reports, and we'll start with Board Member Sanchez.
Well, just a couple quick things. Again, I want to thank everyone for for the board retreat, excellent board retreat, and thank Victoria. What organization was she from? Victoria?
Collaborative Learning Solutions.
Oh, okay. She did a really, really good job. So that was a Saturday well spent by all of us. The other thing I was going to mention is that there's the 30th annual Moon Festival is this Saturday that we were invited to by board member Vaughn Lay from Eastside. And so that's that. I think all of you got that information. I think it starts at 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And so I'll be going. So I was wondering if anybody else was going to attend. And then I wanted to. I know we didn't get it in this this information we had at the agenda, but they wanted to see if we could present a resolution on behalf of Franklin-McKinley School District, because that's the only way you really get to say anything. Otherwise, I found that out. In the Vietnamese community, you have something like that, and you can get up there and say a few words. And so anyway, so I don't know if we can still get that something going like that.
Yeah. So I agendized it for the 28th. So as a way to recognize them for the day of the 18th, so that we could have Light potentially be in person.
Right.
And so that is agendized for the next board meeting.
All right. Thank you. That's all my report.
Thank you, Board Member Sanchez. Clerk Rodriguez.
Just echoing all the remarks regarding the board retreat, and that's it.
Thank you. Board Member Martinez.
Just want to say that, today is election day. Hopefully everybody got a chance who could vote, did get out a chance to make their voice heard. It's important to have our democracy be a participatory event. And I'd also like, in that same vein, to thank the parents and the staff for sticking with us, because I think changes are still evolving, particularly with the pandemic. Regardless of who wins tonight's election and the new laws that are coming up, everything is pointing towards just this ever evolving situation, and kudos to staff for keeping us up to date as best as we all can.
Thank you, Board Member Martinez. Vice President Tran.
Just want to echo everyone's comments on the board retreat as well. I believe it's, attending that, you kind of realize why we always need that annually. And a lot of good conversations came from it. So hoping to, order through the end of the year and have our superintendent report back on his goals whenever it's time.
Thank you, Vice President Tran, and again, want to thank the entire board and superintendent and Victoria as well for engaging in that board retreat and getting some items checked off of our list and working on that together. And also want to thank the parents who joined us. We had over 100 parents. It was a very well attended parent meeting with the board, and I think it just, it's always good to be able to touch base and hear what's happening and hear what their concerns are. And certainly they do place a lot of trust in us as a district to follow up and address those concerns as well. So I know we'll be working with Superintendent Cruz and our team here to make sure we address any concerns, and also, celebrate the fact that we've, made it through this first month of school. And now, all things considered, I know everyone's doing the best we can, and ultimately it's for the students and kids. So thank you, everyone. We'll now go to item 12.02, agenda item requests. Are there any requests at this time? Rodriguez?
I don't even know if this should be an agenda item request, but I would like to get any information regarding the cannabis stores and smoke shops near our schools and the distance requirement.
Yeah, we can provide an update in regards to the current guidelines, both from the city in terms of what governs those. I do remember at one point checking, given the fact that we have so many within the area right here at Franklin, so I can get that and report back to the board.
Okay.
I would also like to request an update on the independent studies program. Just see how that's going.
Sure. What I'll do is I'll actually create a presentation that I can provide during the agenda item around the COVID response. And so I'll have greater data in terms and breakdown of grade levels and those kinds of things. That's what you're requesting.
Sure, I can clarify a little bit more. Thank you, Superintendent Cruz. Board Member Martinez?
In addition to Trustee Rodriguez's request with regards to the zoning and the laws, I'd like to include, if possible, the information regarding the charter schools and where they're located, the ones that we authorize, because they too, are located in various places throughout the city.
Yeah, so we'll be bringing to the board an update in regards to our charter schools, their expiration date, as some of you may be aware. With the trailer bill language, there was an extension of 2 years of the terms of any charter school that was due to expire between January 1st, 2022 and June 30th of 24. So it is not required for the board to take action, but I think for transparency purposes, it's important for the board and the community to know which charter schools have their terms being extended and what date and new end date they have. So that'll be coming to the board on the next board meeting.
Thank you, Superintendent Cruz and Board Member Martinez. We will now go to item 13, future business. There is no future business at this time, so we will go to item 14, future meeting dates. We have 14.01, the September 28th board meeting is our next regularly scheduled board meeting at 7 p.m. We have our 14.02, the following board meeting will take place on October 26th at 8 p.m. And we have our following meeting is 14.03, the November 9th board meeting, again at 8 p.m. And we are planning on having parent meetings for both of those latter two meetings. We have agenda item 15, closed session. We are not returning to closed session. At this time, we are at item 16, adjournment. I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, the motion has been made to adjourn and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. We are now adjourned at 9:22 p.m.